This is my latest video e-newsletter update, sticking with this video format just for the time being. As I've said before, it's much quicker and easier to record these than it is to type out my newsletters every week, which do actually take hours of my time. So thank you for your support while I continue with this format for the time being. So this is my latest e-newsletter. If you have any questions relating to any of the matters arising in the newsletter, please do get in touch, or anything else for that matter. I do want to hear from you.
Just a quick update on the midget bollards. Now these bollards behind me, and let me flip the camera around, I had lots of communication over time about this part of the footpath here, because the foliage here has been allowed to overgrow, and when people park their cars on the pavements and so on, it makes it very difficult for pedestrians to get through here, especially parents with pushchairs, wheelchair users, mobility scooter users, that type of thing. So I had a conversation with the landowner, and they very kindly had this cut back here, and they've agreed that they're going to add it to their regular maintenance schedule to cut back on a regular basis, a couple of times a year when necessary. I mean, we have had this year an especially let's say prolific growing season because of the weather conditions, but yeah, they cut this back, and I'm sure the community will join me in thanking them for doing that. Now this morning I've had a very productive meeting with the landowner about this footpath, because you know, there are some engineering solutions which might make this wider, but that would be very expensive, and I'm not sure it's necessary, because when I met with highways officers, they said all that needs to happen is this, so you can see here this sort of strip here at the bottom. All that's happened is over time that's just sort of slipped down and encroached the pavement. So I met with the landowner this morning, and they've agreed to have this brought back a few feet, which will make this even wider, this area for pedestrians. And I think that's probably, this sort of informal solution is probably the best solution and will achieve you know, desired results. The only problem might be is that some antisocial people may decide to park their vehicles here, and that's something I'll have to keep an eye on, and that's the highway authority to keep an eye on too. But let's see what happens. But I think we've got a sensible solution here, and I will be having a polite chat with some of the properties around here, asking them to, or rather appealing to their better nature, to just ask their visitors not to park at this location, because I really don't want to have to in the future have parking restrictions installed here. So that is the Frimley Green Road roundabout by SC Johnson, and as you go into Balmoral Drive, and I've had a resident who's contacted me to say that when she's walking children to school, when she's on this island that's in the middle of Balmoral Drive, where I'm stood right now, that the sight lines are impacted, and makes it very difficult to cross, particularly in the morning when she's got a herd of children. And actually I agree with her that the traffic coming from Frimley towards Frimley Green, you can see those bushes there, do impact sight lines. So I'm going to talk to the highways team at Surrey County Council to see how we get that chopped back, because I'm not sure whose land that is. It might belong to the community centre, and it might be their responsibility, or then again it might be Surrey County Council. So I'm going to get that looked into and get that chopped back to see if we can improve the sight lines there, but also across the road further up there, so you can see those bushes on the right hand side of Frimley Green Road. I've also had communication from residents to say that they often encroach the pavements there and make it quite difficult for parents when they're getting their children to school. So I'm going to get that looked at as well. Now I'm not actually sure who is responsible for those bushes over there. It's possible it might be SC Johnson, but whoever it is, I'm going to ask the highways authority to get that looked at and see if we can get those bushes chopped back as well. And I've just noticed as well, as I'm recording this video, that these bushes here let's walk across, are also encroaching the footpath here. We need to get those chopped back too. So I'm going to get that looked into. That's just something I've identified just now. But you can see across the road there on the right hand side, just in the centre of the frame, those bushes do make the footpath there when they overgrow very narrow. So let's see if we can get all that looked into and resolved. In my last video update, I reported that I'd had a meeting with a local resident who had highlighted several issues to do with Winterbourne Walk, and I'm pleased to report that I got in contact with Surrey Heath Borough Council's Green Space team, and I have to say they were very swift in their action and responded very positively, and more or less got all the issues resolved except for one, and I'm going to go through those all one by one now. First one is, you might remember that there was some branches that a resident had taken upon him or herself to remove, and left it here on this green space here, hoping that the council would come and take it away, but for some reason that had got missed. But they have removed that now, which is great. The next issue that I reported to Surrey Heath Borough Council in relation to Winterbourne Walk was this tree branch that was hanging down just behind me, and was very dangerous to, I would suggest, cyclists. Perhaps at night time might get smacked in the face by that and could have caused a serious injury. I'm very happy that again the Green Space team responded very positively to that and actually came out and dealt with that the same day I reported it. So very swift action there, and a massive thanks to them for dealing with so positively. So as a result of the meeting I had with the resident, the other issue here was the overgrown brambles going into this copse here, where this rather strangely located dog bin is located. But anyway, one of the issues was that it was so overgrown that people weren't using it. And I'm again very pleased that Surrey Heath Borough Council's Green Space team responded to my call to action very swiftly and have now chopped all this back and made it much more accessible. They dealt with that literally the same day, which is fantastic, so very happy that they responded so positively to that. I would suggest though that these bins, and there's another one which I'm going to show in a second, are really very strangely located and shouldn't really be here. I have no idea what the rationale was for putting these bins in this location, but if you're, for instance, and just as an example, a lone female in the winter walking your dog at night, you know, you are not going to walk through here on your own. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't want to do it as a big strapping Mancunian. I wouldn't want to walk here in the middle, in the pitch black, to deposit my doggy bag. So I would suggest that this is completely the wrong location for this bin, and I'm going to talk again to the Green Space team to see if we can get this relocated. Really, it should, I would suggest, be much better placed out on the pavement just over here, perhaps by this lamppost, or even just in the corner just there. It's a much more high profile location. It's not doing anyone any harm there, and I think it should probably be, it would be better located there in a much more high profile location where people are more likely to use it, no matter what the weather, whether it's night or day, or whether those brambles are overgrown. And that might take some pressure also off the Green Space team, so that they don't have to cut that back so frequently in order that people can have access to it. This is the other strangely located dog waste bin at Winterbourne Walk copse, but again, very happy that the Green Space team have cut this back and made it much more accessible. I still think that that's probably the wrong location for that particular bin, and maybe it might be better placed out on the street here, which is much more visible and accessible no matter what time of day. So yeah, I think that again, I'll be talking to the council, Surrey Heath Borough Council, about perhaps having that bin located, unless they can come up with a really good reason why it's there. But also, they've got rid of that bag, that vile, disgusting bin bag that was full of dog waste and was just left on the floor there. They've got rid of that. Very pleased about that.
An update on the positioning of these dog waste bins. I spoke to the green space team, who agreed with me that the positioning of these bins is not ideal and not very accessible, and probably wouldn't be used in the winter by lone females and other vulnerable residents. So really glad that I got a consensus that the location of these bins is not ideal. Now, the 3 ward councillors for Frimley Green were copied in on those emails. One of them has come back and also agrees with the proposal by the green space team to relocate those bins, and they gave some suggested, the green space team gave a suggested location for each of those bins, which I just clarified that I wanted those to be as close to the pavement as possible, so that especially in the winter, people with mobility issues don't have to walk on the grass. They can literally reach to the bin and put the dog waste in the bin straight away. So I can't see any reason why they would disagree with that, but it looks like an order is going to be raised, and when the new bins are installed, these 2 particular bins will be relocated. So that's great news, really proactive response by the Surrey Heath Borough Council Green Space team. So a massive thank you to them for being so proactive and positive in dealing with this particular issue.
I'm on Lake Road, and one issue that gets raised with me a lot is overhanging vegetation on the footpaths and causing an obstruction, both in terms of people walking on the footpath, but also impacting sight lines when crossing roads and so on. And just behind me is a good example of that, which I've just reported using the Surrey County Council Report It feature. My request to local residents is, if you spot overhanging vegetation onto footpaths like that behind me, then please go onto the Surrey County Council website at surreycc.gov.uk and use the Report It feature. There is a feature there that makes it very easy for you to report stuff like this. The one caveat I would say though is that quite a lot of locations are not public highway, so it might be private property or private boundaries where the vegetation is originating from, and if that's the case, you can still use that Report It mechanism on the council's website, and they will write to the landowner and ask for them to maintain their boundary. So yeah, please use that feature. It's really good, and it really does help the council, you know, keep on top of vegetation. And there is actually a significant amount of funding being allocated to just this kind of activity by our highways operatives. So please do use the feature, and let's get the money spent where it's needed.
I'm in Deepcut Village at the junction of Deepcut Bridge Road and Lake Road, and I've had quite a bit of communication via local social media channels about the general state of the road at this junction. So the anti-skid surface, I've noticed, is in poor condition, line markings, there's potholes, and the general state of the roundabout there, the mini roundabout in the background there, you know, is just in poor condition. So I seem to think that this location is part of the Mindenhurst Environmental Improvement Works, which are currently ongoing further up the road. I might be wrong though, I might have understood that wrong. It was quite a few years ago that this was all put into the plans. So I'm just going to go back and check that and see if this area is included in those plans. And if it's not, then as County Councillor with responsibility for highways in Mitchett, Frimley Green and Deepcut, there are a number of avenues that I can explore in order to get funding to have this improved. I have to say though, it is my opinion that it would be a bit pointless improving this location right now based on the fact of the amount of traffic that goes through, especially heavy construction traffic and all that sort of thing. We don't want to break it up even more, especially if it's going to be all newly resurfaced and all the rest of it. So I think that the general condition of this location is pretty poor. Like I said, the anti-skid surface, the line markings, potholes, and just breaking up of the road surface here. But also I've noticed this birdmouth fence, birdmouth rail fence behind me is all broken up. And it's just pretty shoddy in general at this location. So I do want to look at ways in which I can get this sorted out. Like I say, whether that's through the environmental improvement scheme, through the Mindenhurst development, or through other avenues.
I do have a little update now following on from the segment that I recorded at Deach Bridge Road and the junction of Lake Road and the mini roundabout there. Now, I was under the impression that the highway and environmental improvement works on Deach Bridge Road would extend down that far. But actually, in terms of the carriageway, it doesn't. It only goes as far as Brunswick Road. The footpath, though, as you can see actually in my video segment there, that footpath was part of those, but just not the carriageway. So I've spoken to highways officers and they have informed me that they are currently under discussions with a number of developers, not just Skanska, but also the developer further down there at the Frimhurst site, the Bewley home site there, to see if they can negotiate some improvement works to the carriageway. Now, this is all up in the air at the moment, but even if those discussions don't bear any fruit, there are other avenues open to me as County Councillor in terms of funding to have that location improved. I did say in the segment that, I'm a little bit reluctant to have that done immediately because there is still a lot of heavy construction traffic going over there, as a result of the Bewley Homes development, but also Mindenhurst. And I think I would like that to have been mostly completed before we start anything there. But I am looking into all the different options available, and I am confident that we can get that location resolved at some point. So I will of course keep people updated as to the progress with that. Sturt Road railway bridge, the road there is now closed, and you'll have received an email from me advising you of that, and the closure is from the 6th of August until the 23rd of August. Now, residents set a priority to me and have done for some time now in order to resolve the flooding issues at Sturt Road Bridge that occur every winter. Now, last year there was other major works that were done at Sturt Road Bridge. Those were mostly investigation works to find out exactly what all the problems are. They identified those, and at the same time last year did some jet washing and other works there, which has had a very positive effect. But now the works that are going on there now are to fix the pipes, the lateral pipes, which are very deep under the road. And that means that Sturt Road Bridge now will be closed from the 6th of August to the 23rd of August. And now I realise that those are major disruptions to local residents, but I worked with drainage engineers and partner organisations to arrange those works during the school holidays, during the summer school holidays, in order to minimise disruption. But I realise that that is still a big disruption to local residents nonetheless. The bus route has been diverted, and there's information on my Facebook page about that. But one thing that has come about as a result of this, and quite astonishing really that some residents seem to think that their inconvenience is more important than everyone else's, and are pulling down the barriers and driving through Sturt Road Bridge on the pavements as well, from what I can tell from some of the photos and videos that people are sending me, which is very dangerous. And it's highly unlikely, I suppose, that that kind of person is going to be subscribed to these email updates and they're going to be watching this video. But if you are, or you know somebody who is doing this, please stop. Number one, it's dangerous. Number two, you could actually be delaying the works and causing further inconvenience to local residents. So please, could I appeal to your better nature and stop doing that and use the diversion like everybody else. You know, that would be greatly appreciated by everyone. You know, there are children, cyclists, other pedestrians using the footpath there, and you driving over the footpath or through that bridge during that road closure is dangerous. So please, please, please stop.
In one of my previous video updates, I mentioned about the Basingstoke Canal and the towpath, and how sometimes it gets overgrown. And there was some confusion from some residents based on some of the comments that I'd had on my Facebook page, why the Canal Authority doesn't cut it back. Well, the Canal Authority has very limited resources, and actually the upkeep of the maintenance of the towpaths is done by volunteers through the Basingstoke Canal Society. Now, the last time I did my video update, this path hadn't been done, but it has now, and I just want to thank, on behalf of all local residents, you know, the working efforts of the volunteers who maintain these footpaths from the Basingstoke Canal Society. And if you enjoy these footpaths as much as I do, I cycle along here regularly, please make a donation to the Basingstoke Canal Society. They will put those funds to good use to buy equipment for the maintenance of the footpaths and the canal, and to other good use. So do support the Basingstoke Canal Society. I'm a huge fan of them, and I want to thank them on behalf of residents for everything they do.
Being the summer, I'm going to take a little bit of time out to spend some time with the girls. So this will be my last update for the next couple of weeks. But I'll be back to normal service from the beginning of September. So I hope you all have a great summer. And I do have an out of office reply on my email. But if you do have anything urgent, please do send me an email. I am monitoring the inbox while I'm off.